Chapter 27. The Firefighters. Anne looks extremely remorseful as he walks ahead. The cleaning lady's phone starts vibrating inside his pants' left pocket. Anne quickly pulls out the phone and was almost about to look at the screen when suddenly a door opens and a bright light appears from there, illuminating his entire face. Anne looks up with a surprised expression on his face. There is a notification of a new text message on the cleaning lady's phone screen. The text reads, "Watch out for the fourth guard in the office. It's the CEO." The bright light suddenly changes into blue and red lights, with the sound of a siren coming from not too far. The noise starts getting louder as a fire engine comes in view, driving in the middle of the deserted road. Dam and Airdrie are inside the fire engine, with Dam driving it as fast as he can. "Maybe we should turn off the siren," Airdrie suggests. Dam looks at Airdrie while still driving and says, "Why?" "We're making good progress." Dam looks ahead towards the road in front of him again, diverting his attention from Airdrie, when Airdrie says again, "I feel a little more nervous when the siren is on." Dam looks at Airdrie once again and starts saying, "Don't worry. Driving this truck is a piece of Dam is cut halfway through his sentence when suddenly the fire engine bumps to the left taillight of a vehicle parked at the side of the street. Due to the impact of the hit, the vehicle slightly jolts, and Airdrie gets startled. Dam looks at Airdrie's state and feebly says, "Sorry." Dam starts driving the fire engine back at the middle of the road, while both the passengers inside the vehicle quiet, with their gaze fixated on the road in front of them. Dam looks a little sheepish, while Airdrie stares outside the window at his right side. "So, what's the cleaning lady's location?" Dam asks quietly. Airdrie pulls out his cell phone and looks at the screen. Then he looks up at Dam as he says, "She's on the move." "Where?" Dam asks. Airdrie looks at the phone's screen again as he says, "She's on the 7th Street. Now at Grew Avenue. Now at the Golden Road. Okay. Now she stops at the Crispy Hotel." "Crispy Hotel?" Dam asks, baffled. Airdrie shrugs before responding. "Maybe she's dropping someone off? Or taking a nap?" With that being said, Airdrie falls quiet yet again. Dam doesn't ask anything as well, as he focuses on the road. He notices that there are a firefighter and another fire engine that has apparently caught fire as well. The vehicle is parked in the middle of the road. He looks at the side of the parked fire engine to see that there is a small crashed SUV near the flaming fire engine. Near the SUV, a firefighter is standing in the middle of the road, facing Dam's fire engine. Suddenly, Dam doesn't notice the firefighter waving his hand towards them. Airdrie looks at the firefighter and says, "The firefighter is waving his hand to us." Dam exclaims, "Oh, shit!" Airdrie looks closely with his eyes narrowed and says, "Looks like there's an accident on the road." "Oh, man," Dam responds. The firefighter smiles at the fire engine as soon as he notices that the passengers inside the vehicle have noticed him. Dam looks at Airdrie and confidently says, "Don't worry, let me handle this." Dam parks the fire engine at the side of the road, beside the firefighter, and rolls down the window at his side before popping his head out. The firefighter looks immensely relieved as he says, "Thank God. Did you get my response?" Dam responds, "Sure thing, that's why we're here." The firefighter nods before saying, "Good. Park near the fire hydrant and follow me." Dam looks at Airdrie with a lost expression on his face. He then gets his head back inside the vehicle and drives the fire engine to park it near the fire hydrant. Once Dam has parked it where the firefighter had asked him to, both Dam and Airdrie open their sides of the doors and get out of the fore engine. When they are on the ground, they start walking right behind the firefighter, following him towards the crashed SUV near the flaming fire engine in the middle of the road. The firefighter says, "Yeah, it's a real mess right now. Stupid rioters." The firefighter sighs audibly before resuming, "All this for a stupid hockey game. Anyways, a small SUV got into collision with another vehicle right here. The driver's side of the SUV is totally smashed, and the other vehicle drove off somewhere. I asked the driver, If he was all right? The driver said that he was all right, but his seatbelt got stuck, and now he can't get out of the vehicle. We were going to free him from the other side of the vehicle, but out of nowhere, some arsonists were throwing Molotov at us. It put our fire engine up in flames. If you don't know what a Molotov is, it's a cloth on fire in a glass bottle. I used my phone to call the station, but there was no answer, so I left a message. Actually, I left a message to all the stations and still no response. Do you have any water in your engine? The firefighter stops and turns around and looks at Dam and Airdrie. Dam looks up at him and says, "No. We ran out of water." The firefighter curiously asks, "Who are you guys?" Dam responds, "I'm Dam, and this is Airdrie." The firefighter looks at both of them from head to toe before asking again, "Why are you not wearing your uniforms?" Dam decides to just tell him the truth and get over with it, and Dam starts saying, "We needed a vehicle to find someone, so we found this." Dam pauses to point at the fire engine that he was driving just a while back. He then looks back at the firefighter as he resumes, "Trunk. It was on the sidewalk, untended. So, I decided to borrow it, to find this person." The firefighter looks at the fire engine, then back at Dam as he asks, "So why did you stop?" Dam responds, "To help, of course. I think of others than myself." The firefighter looks impressed and nods his head before he says, "Okay, you two are going to stay on that sidewalk over there. Me and my 5 men's team are going to hook up your fire engine that you borrowed. Use it to take out the fire from our fire engine and get the person out of his vehicle. When we are done using it, one of my men are going to return the fire engine that you borrowed. And the police will deal with the both of you, okay?" Dam nods his head compliantly and says, "Okay." The firefighter simply says, "Good." Dam and Airdrie look at the sidewalk, and Dam asks again, "Which sidewalk?" "That one, over there." The firefighter looks at Dam and says, as he points at the sidewalk in front of him. Dam looks at the sidewalk as well and says, "Oh, okay." Dam and Airdrie start walking towards the sidewalk where the firefighter had asked them to go. The firefighter looks up at them again and says, "Yeah, and don't move as well." Dam says, "Okay." Dam and Airdrie stop walking as soon as they reach the sidewalk and stand right there, as soon as they hear the firefighter saying, "Yeah, that's it. Stay right fuck anything!" An unknown scream is heard from one side, which cuts the firefighter's sentence midway. An unknown person is screaming out loud. With a horror-stricken face, the firefighter turns his head around to notice an arsonist throwing Molotov on the crashed SUV. The Molotov lands on the top of the SUV's trunk, and the fire starts spreading slowly from the trunk up to the roof of the car. The guy stuck inside the SUV seems horrified as he starts screaming as well. The crash victim inside the SUV panics and screams out loud, "Oh God, help!" The crash victim panics as the other firefighters rush towards the crashed SUV. More arsonists come behind the firefighters and grab them before attacking them as well. The firefighter who had stopped Dam and Airdrie runs towards them at the sidewalk and begs, "You've got to help me." Dam agrees and says, "Okay. What do we need to do?" The firefighter looks at both of them and says, "You and him, go and get the driver out of his vehicle, and I'll set up the truck." Dam agrees to his request and simply says, "Okay." Before Dam can proceed, Airdrie stops him and says, "Wait. How?" The firefighter looks at Airdrie and, in an impatient tone, says, "God damn it, go!" Dam, Airdrie, and the firefighter are running towards their objectives. Airdrie looks at Dam while they're still running and says, "How are we going to free him?" The firefighter goes to the right side of the fire engine. He quickly opens the door and takes out long holes and hydrant wrench and runs towards the fire hydrant. The firefighter uses the hydrant wrench to remove the steamer cap and also one of the other side caps from the hydrant. As soon as the caps come off the hydrant and on the ground near the hydrant, the firefighter uses the wrench to slowly open the top of the hydrant to flush the ports and verify if the hydrant is usable. The moment he does that, water comes out from the caps, and soon the water is everywhere on the cement ground. The firefighter mutters to himself, "Look good to me." The firefighter attaches the adapters to make connections to both steamer and the side port of the hydrant. He then attaches the large diameter line to the hydrant and to the apparatus, and slowly opens the hydrant. When he is about to do what he had planned next, an arsonist grabs him and punches him on the right side of his jaw. Due to the impact of the blow, the firefighter ends up in intense pain. When Dam and Airdrie are running towards the crashed SUV, Airdrie notices the other firefighters see that they are in some struggle. Airdrie looks at Dam and asks, "Do you think they need more help?" Dam looks at all the struggling firefighters. He then turns towards Airdrie and says, "Yeah, maybe you should help them." Airdrie looks at Dam with concern on his face and asks, "You'll be all right?" "I'll be fine. Just go," Dam responds. Airdrie changes his direction and leaves Dam's side to go towards the struggling firefighters. When he makes it to the firefighters, one of the arsonists notices him and asks aggressively, "The fuck you doing here, faggot?" Airdrie lifts his right foot and kicks the arsonist right on his nose. As soon as he receives the kick, the arsonists fall on the ground due to the impact of the kick. Another arsonist charges towards Airdrie, and he immediately punches the other arsonist with his right hand on his right side temple. The other arsonist falls to the ground as well. Airdrie bends over as soon as the third arsonist punches Airdrie with his right hand directly at his stomach. Airdrie looks down after the hit for a moment, before without even a hint, he suddenly gets up and headbutts the third arsonist right in his face. Meanwhile, on the other side, Dam makes it to the flaming crashed SUV. As soon as he bends down to get in the crash victim's line of vision, the crash victim begs Dam to rescue him. Dam says reassuringly, "Don't worry. Just relax and remain calm. I just need a plan to figure this out." Dam looks around the area and sees nothing to use for the SUV, and also sees people fighting with each other. Dam quickly chants to himself, "Think, think, 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 think." Dam quickly rushes around the vehicle and keeps walking until he stops at the passenger window. He gets his right hand to the bottom of the right side of his chin and closes it to make a fist. Dam punches the window, but the glass doesn't break by just a punch. "That's your plan?" the crash victim exclaims in panic. Dam shouts from near the window, "That's all I could come up with." The crash victim suggests in a state of panic, "Use your elbow." Dam hits the window with his right elbow hard. However, the glass still doesn't break. In fact, as Dam checks, there isn't even anything close to a crack. The fire starts getting closer to the SUV's roof, and Dam notices that. Dam knows that he doesn't have enough time before the entire car gets flamed up, so he hits the window with his elbow again. Just like the first time, the glass doesn't break. The fire is now getting closer to the roof, and the crash victim inside the car is panicking. Airdrie turns his right hand into a fist and punches a bloody arsonist right on the left side of his face mercilessly. Whereas, the firefighter who was talking to Dam earlier is now sitting on his knees while covering his head with his arms trying to protect himself, as the arsonist is kicking him constantly. Dam hits the window with his elbow for the 10th time, yet the glass doesn't break. Dam gets tired of constantly trying without any positive results and starts to breathe heavily. Smoke starts appearing from inside the SUV. The crash victim is now wussy as he cries out loud, "The fire is getting closer!" The crash victim starts closing his eyes, while Dam looks sacred for the crash victim's survival. Suddenly, Dam starts punching the window with his right hand numerous times, yet the glass doesn't break. Dam stops and looks at his hand, which is now covered in blood. He starts getting angry and shouts, "Ah, God damn it!" Dam punches the window once again with all his force, and surprisingly, the glass shatters from the window this time. Dam looks very surprised while looking at the shattered glass and his bloody hand, and exclaims, "Holy shit!" Dam quickly opens the door and sits on the passenger seat. The smoke is getting to Dam's eyes, making them watery, and Dam squints his eyes to see clearly. Dam goes to the crash victim and tears off the seatbelt from his body. He quickly lifts his arms and drags him out of the SUV. On top of the SUV, the fire has spread completely. Dam carries the crash victim with both of his arms. Once he has grabbed the crash victim, he asks him, "You all right?" The crash victim opens his eyes a little and looks at Dam. Then he slowly says in a wussy tone, "Thank you." Dam smiles at him and responds, "You're welcome." Dam walks towards a bench on a sidewalk, puts the crash victim on the bench, and takes off his jacket. He quickly covers the crash victim with it, trying to stabilize his temperature. He looks at him with concern and says, "You're going to be all right. Stay right here. I got to go help my friends out." The crash victim says in a soft tone, "Okay." The crash victim closes his eyes and releases a soft sigh. Dam runs towards the firefighter near the fire hydrant, who now happens to be lying on the left side of his body. The hydrant arsonist is squatting down while looking at the firefighter. "It's your fault that we lost the game?" the arsonist asks. The hydrant arsonist stands back up to his feet and looks at Dam while he's coming up to him. Dam's hands garb and smash the tip of the hydrant arsonist's nose with his right knee. Blood oozes out of his nose. The hydrant arsonist falls on his back at the road near the fire hydrant. Dam squats down and puts his right hand on the firefighter's right shoulder. Dam asks, "Are you all right?" The firefighter groans before he falls silent once again. Dam looks at him with concern and says in a small voice, "You'll be all right." Dam stands up and looks at Airdrie and the other firefighters. He notices more arsonists coming in towards Airdrie and the other firefighters on their upper left. Dam runs back to the fire engine while leaving the firefighter from the hydrant by himself. The firefighter is still lying on his left side of his body, looking badly battered, 5 feet away from the fire hydrant right. Airdrie is punching another arsonist in the face, and he makes the arsonist go down on the ground. When the arsonist is on the ground, Airdrie notices all the arsonists coming towards him and the other firefighters. Airdrie looks tired while his face is injured. His left bottom lip is cut. His right nose nostril is bleeding. A little bruise has formed on his right cheek, and he's got a black eye on his left side. An arsonist charges at Airdrie, and suddenly, water springs on the arsonist who was charging at Airdrie. The pressure of the water throws the arsonist to the other side of the street, and right after that, the water spring stops. The arsonist who was sprayed is on the ground and looks unconscious now. Everyone is looking at the fire engine, while Dam is at the deluge gun on top of the fire engine. Dam shouts out loud from atop the fire engine, "Who the fuck is next?" One of the arsonists is slowly walking towards the fire engine. Dam looks at that arsonist to realize that it was a female. The female arsonist yells at Dam, "I'm not afraid of yo!" Before she could say it all, Dam uses the deluge gun on the female arsonist. Within seconds, she was completely out of sight. Dam looks at the other arsonist standing there as he asks, "Anyone else?" Everyone goes quiet. Dam starts shouting again as he says, "All right, arsonist fuckheads, get the fuck out of here, or else I'd hose you like dog." Within minutes, the entire road was clear as all the arsonists have run away. The arsonists, who are unconscious, are still there. Dam quickly hoses out the SUV and the other fire engine, and both vehicles' fire goes out instantly. Dam jumps down from the fire engine and starts making his way towards Airdrie and the other firefighters. His first stop is Airdrie as he looks at his tired form and asks, "Are you okay, Airdrie, my boy?" "I'm a little bruised, but I'm all right," Airdrie responds groggily. A firefighter near Dam and Airdrie is looking at Dam while dusting off the dirt from his uniform pants. He looks up and says in sheer horror, "Oh my God, they cut up your face?" Dam looks at the other firefighter and says, "No, this happened early." Dam stops midway and points at the cut on his face with his right index finger. Then he resumes, "But I'm all right." Dam looks at his right hand while it's pointing at his face. He says, "Except for my hand." I have no choice but smash the window and save the crash victim and pull him out of the SUV. How are you guys? The other firefighter responds, "We're a bit tired from getting beaten up." He then points his right finger towards Airdrie and says, "Thanks for saving us." Airdrie responds, "You're welcome." The other firefighter asks again, "How's the driver?" "He's fine. He's over there at the bench, apparently passed out on it," Dam says. The other firefighter says, "Thanks for rescuing him." "How's the captain?" Dam asks, looking puzzled. "Who?" The other firefighter tries to make him understand, as he says, "The guy you were talking to." Dam looks as if a sudden revelation has been dawned upon him, and he says, "He's near the fire hydrant. He got beating up too, but he'll be all right." The captain is still unconscious. Dam Airdrie and the other firefighter are looking at the captain while he's still on the ground. The other firefighter turns his head up and looks at Dam from his right side and asks, "So, how are the streets?" Dam responds seriously, "It's pretty bad out there. The roads are deserted." "How's your radio?" the other firefighter asks. Soon, they are all inside the fire engine. The other firefighter is sitting in the driver's seat of the fire engine. His right hand is holding the radio handle as he speaks. "Dispatch to Station 3. This is Sergeant Beck. We need some assistance. Our fire engine got assaulted from arsonist, and our captain is down. Over." Beck gets no response from the station. He speaks on the radio again. "Dispatch to Station 3. Over." Again, there is no response. He tries one more time. "Dispatch to Station 3. Anyone there?" Over. There is no response yet again. Beck says on the radio again, "Dispatch to Police Station 1. This is Sergeant Beck from the fire department from Station 3. We need some assaulted. Over." Again, no response. This time Beck says, "Dispatch to anyone?" Over. An unknown static voice in a southern accent says, "What's all the commotion?" Beck immediately says in his radio, "Sir, do you know what's going on? Can you please help us?" The unknown person with a southern accent says, "Now why the fuck do I want to help y'all?" Beck tries to explain the entire situation to the unknown person as he says, "Please, sir, we need some help. We got injured people here and—" The unknown person stops Beck in mid-sentence as he says in his southern accent, "Nan, when I find you squinting heads, I'll fuck you all up real hard, motherfucker." Sergeant Beck lets go of the radio handle, and the radio handle is now dangling around, while the unknown person is still talking on the radio in his southern accent. Sergeant Beck looks at Dam, who is standing on top of the step near the driver's side door. Beck sighs and says, "What do we do now? I can't get a hold of anyone on the radio." "I don't know," Dam says. As soon as Dam goes silent, the sound of a loud explosion startles Dam and Sergeant Beck. Beck quickly says, "It's not safe here." Dam immediately nods his head and says, "Let's get everyone in this trunk." Dam stops speaking and looks at Beck before saying, "We'll drive to the nearest authority." Beck asks, looking slightly perplexed, "Are you sure?" Dam asks him, "Do you want to stay at this place?" Beck looks around the place and then quickly shakes his head before responding, "No." Dam nods and says, "Then, let's go." Beck agrees as he says, "All right." Dam jumps down to the ground, while Beck gets out of the fire engine and jumps down too. Dam is quickly making his way towards the crash victim to get him in the trunk first. He looks ahead at Airdrie and shouts, "My boy! Help the guys get in the trunk. I'll get the guy on the bench. Sergeant, can you get the captain?" Beck responds, "Roger that." Meanwhile, the unknown person is still talking in his southern accent on the radio as he says, "You yellowhead monkey bastard." The guy with the southern accent is driving a trunk while his right hand is holding the radio handle and looks angry. Then, he starts to get sad and puts the radio handle back in the holder. Suddenly, his accent changes to a British one as he says, "Bloody hell! Why every time I do an introduction, it always has to be so rude? I thought if I act like them, they'll accept me? I don't belong anywhere. Everyone is a wanker or a bollocks."